So welcome to this seminar or webinar today. I want to have this webinar as a very interactive discussion. I would love your feedback on some hypotheses that I'm going to present to you today. I'm going to present both how I see the development or evolution of management of the firm, and then go more deeper into the specific topic of innovation ecosystem or ecosystem as the phenomena. The ecosystem today it's like a dear child, and it has very many different names. Some would say business ecosystem, some would say knowledge ecosystem, innovation ecosystem. And there are even research that have been trying to categorize the different ecosystems into four primarily sort of categories, which is innovation ecosystem, knowledge ecosystem, business ecosystem, and then it was entrepreneurial ecosystem. I'm not going to go into that today because I don't find it as relevant. And hopefully I will be able to explain why. So with that, I want to share my screen with you and tell you a little bit about myself. Let's see, presentation mode. And don't be afraid. You see something here now that you might react to immediately. One of the questions or hypotheses I'm going to test on you is if there's a need for a new guidance standard for innovation ecosystem. I will come to that at the very end. And the reason for I'm taking that issue up is that I represent today in the webinar both me as an academic and expert on innovation management. I've been doing this for 30 years, but I also an ISO expert in the TC 279 committee, and where I represent the US committee. And we are to meet in a couple of weeks in Peru, Lima, where we are going to discuss the latest success, which is a new standard actually for innovation management. And it's called ISO 56001. And in that meeting, where all the international experts are going to meet, we're also going to discuss if we believe there's any sort of value of creating a guidance, not a standard, but a guidance regarding management of innovation ecosystem. So this is something I want to test on you today. Me, I'm Swedish American. I was born in Sweden. I've been living in the Bay Area for 15 years. I see Gary Hamel, as you will have as part of the program later, as a dear friend. He is a neighbor of mine. I also have other people that I absolutely adore because they have been in the forefront of the evolution of management. Gary Hamel was already in 2000 saying that leadership had to change. Other people, David Teese, that I know really well at Berkeley University, Henry Shesper on open innovation, and they all come in this kind of dough or this kind of new model for management. They have been doing, inspire me a lot in my own work. And I've been lucky to be being on stage together with those people a number of times. And I'm very happy that you will meet Gary Hamel later in the program. You will love him. I have a Master of Science and PhD in Industrial Engineering and Management from Chalmers. I spent more than 20 years as an executive in high growth firms, both startup, middle-sized and large firms. I have acted as a professor in entrepreneurship and innovation management at several US universities. And then I have been a visiting scholar at Chalmers as well. And then I spent more than 15 years working and trying to understand innovation management. And we talked about innovation early on. When we started discussing innovation, it was around, for me at least, it was around 2005-ish. So it was after 2000. And at that point in time, we discussed innovation, never innovation management as a skill. as something we could learn and we could develop as an expertise. So I've been focusing on that for the last years, and then for the last 3 years as part of ISO. Okay. So the agenda today that I thought could be of interest for you, and I hope it is to go through a little bit of the current landscape and challenges, what's happening now. And when I talk about that, it's primarily about management of the firm and what trends that I have been seeing. Why a guidance standard could be needed. A key component of this benefit for global community and call to action. Those last points are actually a minimum of slides. So it looks much, but it's actually not taking that amount of time in this webinar as it looks like. So let's go a little bit about and talk about what's happening. So this was a picture, and I refer to Gary Hamel, which will come back to you. The world has changed for sure. So this is a slide I used over 10 years ago in all my lectures, specifically when I went over to Sweden and gave lectures about innovation and how to manage for innovation. And that was after my research on Google and my first book in 2014 on the Google model. And one of the statements I had was more or less that this picture is from the early 1900s, and most management innovation were discovered in early 1900. So most things that we discuss, even brand management, is from the 1950. Return on investment and this kind of metrics. The view of scientific management came in 1910-ish. So we have, and we still live with this kind of very old-fashioned management philosophy, and it's so hard to change. And Gary Hamel was, as I said, one of the first one out in 2000 saying that leadership had to change. In 2009, he did this enormously interesting moonshot for management. If you remember, it's an article about how it was consultants, it was leading consultancy companies, it was leading company leaders from the biggest companies, and he collected them actually close to our houses here in Half Bay at a great hotel, and where they spent a couple of days to sort of try to figure out how will leadership and management look like in the future. And he published this in 2009. And I can bet if you have not read it, read it, because you will find a lot of things that you say today or that you try to sort of implement today in your organization in that article. It's more or less everything. It's like, you know, the new view on leadership. It's the new view on organizational design. It's the importance of agility and being, you know, adaptable. It's everything in there. So that has been an extremely important piece of my work as I started to look at this in 2005-ish. So this article became important for me, as you can imagine. So in my own world, I've been looking and got inspiration from primarily Silicon Valley companies and Chinese companies. And the reason for that is that the Silicon Valley companies, Silicon Valley have been, for me, a cradle for innovation on management. And then I discovered, by a coincidence, actually, a Chinese company reached out to me and was hired, a very successful company in the home appliance market that has an average, you know, growth of 20% in an extremely matured, slow growing market as the home appliance market. And it's interesting because the Electrolux news group CEO actually came from Hire. So they just recruited it. You might not know that, but he will start in January. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Anyway, so while looking at those, I've been then trying to work with front leaders in Europe, specifically in Sweden as well. And funny enough, it had been on one of the first things they adopted was open innovation. I mean, agile being huge, but also open innovation and innovation ecosystem. So I've been in touch with AstraZeneca and Ericsson and ABB and before the GE Healthcare that is now having a new name. And IKEA and a number of and Electrolux, of course, and their open innovation approach. So what I found doing those studies and work is that there seem to be 6 different major sort of trends. One is about this sort of new customer focus perspective. It's not customer centricity in its old way. It's not the customer focus in a way we've been talking about for decades. This is with digital technology, and with a shift of business models moving from, many were hardware companies and they moved their business models to hardware, software, and services. And in that, together with the digital technology, that could enable more or less zero distance to users. So users are now part of development of new services and products. They can access sort of the logistic and production flow. They can be there, see where their product is. They are more part of the organization's more or less business model and businesses. And then in the same time, the users has an enormously higher power today. So it's so important to understand the user needs and those kind of unspoken user needs. And many companies, as you know, that are very good at innovation also try to understand those unspoken needs by just studying behavior, commonly on different kind of digital sort of platforms. They can see how they actually behave. So one of the things is the zero distance to user. And if you think that companies that are very good at that, I would like to just point out that they should nominate their company to the higher award, which actually is going to be in next weekend, I think it is. And they have a specific award for zero distance organizations. The other thing is going from bureaucracy to networked organization, decentralization. And that is actually more important than you might think, because it's like the pre-stage to ecosystem. So what we see is that those organizations internally, they start to work as ecosystem by creating smaller units that become more networked between them within the organization, within sort of the umbrella of the organization and the group. And then in the same time, much more decentralization of decision power. And here we see today tools like the 3 rules, for example, on decentralization. So when decentralize the strategy, the possibility to sort of set the strategy on a low level, the possibility to hire the competence and the people you need, and the possibility to decide what to do with the profit that you earn, how to actually distribute that. So those are the 3 rights that, so we see a number of new tools. We also see other interesting thing that I will come back to. Then we have this unleash the talent or entrepreneurship at scale. Okay, so this is, I put this as a third one. So the network organization and the decentralization doesn't have to mean that we aim for entrepreneurship everywhere in the organization. But what we see now is that the companies that at least I've been looking at and studied, they aim for this entrepreneurship at scale. Some companies even say that we don't discuss employee anymore. The concept of employee is gone, and every employee should be an entrepreneur. And I know what you think. Yeah, but truly, shouldn't they be entrepreneur? Yes, they are entrepreneur, or you can call them entrepreneur. I did a blog on that, which I think is good to read. where I say we can go, sorry, almost like an evolution from employee to entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Because the entrepreneur is sort of the middle stage. Here, we still want them to be part of the organization, but we might, as a CEO, an organization, want them to actually become the entrepreneur by being part of a spun-off sort of company that they have been the idea giver to. So I will say the organization can aim for entrepreneurs as well, almost like a last step. Then we also see a trend in compensation. The compensation model have for a long time been like a fixed rate, fixed salary, and it doesn't really matter if you're good or bad. Here we see many companies that are adding on components. It could be in the form of a true transparent compensation system where your salary and everything is according to how much you actually have contributed to the company. But it could also be part of bonus, which is more normal in our world, in Europe, where we can play with bonuses that represent more on individual or a group level the actual performance of a group or of that company, or on individual level. The next last one is something we call linear to non-linear management. So it's not servant management or servant leadership. We talk about going from a linear to non-linear management. Management needs to step back. If they are to have this top-down control, sort of, have a pretty narrow span of people where they can more or less micro control all those and make sure that they can be part of all the decisions, and they are having a pretty top-down approach in their management. The belief is that the economic development will be, in the best case, linear. You cannot scale in that way. If you want to scale and create exponential growth, you have to create non-linear management. And that is where management take a much more strategic role, much more future-oriented role, and think through the strategy and the next growth areas and the vision and where the team need to go, and therefore also need to rely and trust great people and leaders on other levels to actually do the work they are hired to do. And also then to decentralize decision power to the local knowledge. And then finally, ecosystem. So ecosystem for leverage growth. And this is a very interesting sort of trend. It started, I will say, with the ecosystem that was created by the Silicon Valley companies. And suddenly we saw that the most valued firms on the Fortune 500 list and all those were companies that seemed to have ecosystem models. At that point in time, we usually call them platforms. Okay, and we're going to go into what the ecosystem is today. And I'm going to show you a pretty sophisticated system of an ecosystem, and you will see that the platform is part of the ecosystem today. So they are not separated. The platform is there, and it's like a core concept to create interoperability in a very efficient way. And some would say call this the digital ecosystem, digital innovation ecosystem, digital business ecosystem, because it's enabled by digital technology and today AI, which is extremely interesting. So let's see, how much time do I have left? Thomas, can you help me, or Michael, how much time do you have?
Actually, I have a half an hour, so it's
okay, good. It's not bad. Okay.
If we go put time limits.
Yeah, fantastic. No, but I have a passion for this, so I have a tendency to speak long.
So do we.
So if we go, I love the work of Moore. Moore actually coined the whole business ecosystem concept in 1993. So he was the first one out there, and you will see that any researcher today that is in the field of ecosystem refer to Moore. And I hopefully will meet him next week when I'm in China, because he usually part of those award ceremonies at higher. And he said there is usually, we have two models. We have the hierarchy, which is sort of the traditional model for the company. You know, the company is one model. The other one is the market. But he said there's the third one, and he called it the business ecosystem. So in my work, I've been using his definition and his work, very early work on business ecosystem, and where he said in 1993, this article where he coined that this new sort of organizational structure, and this is important, this new corporate form is the business ecosystem. So notice that he's not saying that business ecosystem is any kind of extension of the company, like we usually think. He say this is a new corporate form. And as a new corporate form, it need to be managed. It's managed, but the management of that form is very different from managing an open market, from managing a very traditional hierarchical firm. So, so what you are working with in the agile, I will say that with this new corporate form is even more important, because this is so much more complex than a company. So if we think that we have solved innovation management for the organization as the corporate form, you can just imagine the sophistication and complexity doing this for business ecosystem or ecosystem, whatever we call them. This is Moore's concept. So we need a definition. And so I will say I was driving. I've been driving for over 2 years now to get innovation ecosystem defined and mentioned as part of ISO 56001 that was published a couple of days ago. Okay, it might not seem important, but it's very important. Innovation ecosystem was not mentioned in the innovation standard for organizations. We talked about partnership. We talk about working with external parties, and we talked about all that, but we didn't have ecosystem defined and mentioned in the standard. We got that in, and we also got it in ISO 56000, which is the terminology for the new standard on innovation management for a firm, for an organization. So I took the definition that is now existing in ISO 56000, which is a supporting document to the 56001 standard. And here we say that innovation, I need to decrease so I don't see you here, sorry. The definition is a system of interdependent, so they are dependent on each other, interdependent persons and organizations, collectively or collaboratively developing or enabling innovations. And innovation is then defined in 56000 as a new or changed entity that is realizing or redistributing value. So in the value chain, it can redistribute value up and down in the value chain through the innovation. Participants in an innovation ecosystem can include private and public organization and can range from an arbitrary group of participants to an orchestrated multi-party community based on collaborative innovation partnership. And so the last part is very important, that when you think about, or many people think about an innovation ecosystem, they will say Silicon Valley. And that would be something close to a cluster and to, you know, to other researchers, cluster theory. And that is right. That is one form of an ecosystem. But today we also have, and we have studied very well orchestrated multi-party communities that work exactly like Moore said, as a new corporate form. Okay, so with that, I want to go to next slide. Let me know if you have, because I find this very exciting. I hope you find it too. Okay, so why is it important? Why is innovation ecosystem important for the sort of for the global community? And I took some evidence here. I mean, I'm an academic scientist. I want to be academically sort of basing what I say on science. We've seen the ecosystem coming for a long time. And as I said, the business ecosystem was coined in 1993. In 2006, so around when I started looking at innovation in an organization, we had people like Adler saying the organization need to align the innovation strategy to the broader innovation ecosystem. So we started to understand that the organization is always part of an innovation ecosystem. You might not know it, but you always, as an organization, you're part of several ecosystems. And if you haven't figured that out, you need to understand that, and you need to start mapping those ecosystems. And you need to align your innovation strategy, that is your innovation strategy that's part of in innovation management, right? You need to align that to this innovation ecosystem. Then in 2018, much later, Jacobites from London Business School, one of the big ones in studying ecosystem, said that there is a rising importance of ecosystem orchestration and partnership. And then OECD and the World Economic Forum have gone out as well publicly saying in 2019 and 2020, saying that with digital transformation, ecosystem will become even more super relevant. And with, you know, with the global challenge we have, the World Economic Forum say we have to have, you know, it highlights this role of innovation ecosystem to manage those global challenges. So with that, I wanted to create some kind of foundation to that. And I could add so many more people and also, of course, corporate people saying that this is something very important. One of the key drivers for this shift is that we sort of gone from internal to co-created innovation. And this is based on Shesper's work from 2003, as you most probably know very well. That innovation is no longer confined to internal R&D department within companies. Instead, organizations are increasingly leveraging external partnership to drive innovation. He saw this and he coined open innovation. He gave out the first book on open innovation in 2003. And again, the World Economic Report say that there's a shift from being organization bound to being part of a broader interconnected cross-sector innovation ecosystem. And this is also interesting because as an organization, if you're organization bound, you usually say that you're part of a certain industry. But your innovation ecosystem is usually cross-industry, it's cross-sectors, which also means that it's very much high complexity degree of an innovation ecosystem than an organization in itself. So what you do as an organization can be seen more or less as one core competence, is a one core asset that you bring to an innovation ecosystem. And what happened now is that certain companies have been very, very good to understand that and to more or less manage that ecosystem in a beneficial way, which strengthen them and their core competence even more. This is just an example I took from the internet. Innovation ecosystem can exist on very different levels. And when I talk about a guidance, you know, like not external, but a guidance for, you know, what is best practice for how we do manage those. I talk about the micro level. So they exist already. We have example already, a company example having on micro level, on meso level, and on and then government, of course, is trying to build a macro level innovation ecosystem. So Sweden has one, and England has one, and maybe London has one. On a meso level, it might be the smart city. We need to collaborate. Several micro level ecosystem need to collaborate in order to create a smart city, which is on a higher level. So this example was for service innovation, but it could be for any innovation. So on the macro level, we have, and I'm sure you are well aware of this already. Here we have the institutions, right? Like laws, norms, culture norms, and other things that is affecting the innovation ecosystem for sure. And we have done, national ecosystem, regional ecosystem have been in research focus for decades. And then on meso level, maybe it's less focused on over here. But here we see that different kind of micro level ecosystem collaborate to create something, for example, like a smart city. And then on a micro level, it's more of an exchange between individual actors. So here we see those multi-party ecosystem between, say, 3 companies or 5 companies, and they all have usually complementary competences, but they can also compete. It could actually be the top 3 brands in the same industry that are part of the ecosystem, and then the customer is to choose which one they want. So they compete, but they usually mostly complement each other in order to be able to serve a bigger part of the market. I mentioned this before. I'm not going to stay with this, but we've seen it before. This is an old picture. I need to update this. But in 2016, we saw that more or less all top valued companies, was like ecosystem. They had been building some kind of platform business. Okay, I want to give you an example before we're out of time of Hire. Hire ecosystem is maybe, I would say, the most sophisticated I know of as now. They work on micro level and meso level, and they call it the ecosystem micro community. And I just will publish now a very interesting article for you on AI enabled digital business ecosystem that are taking lesson learned from EMCs, from Hire's EMC. And that will be published in European Journal of Innovation Management in a couple of days or a week. Chairman Shang Rumin, he already on the 11th Global Peter Drucker Forum in 2019, of course said, he always been very in the forefront, said that maximizing shareholder value is a zero-sum game. And what he's referring to is, of sort of one business. We don't want to create this walled garden. We want a rainforest. We want to be able to take part of a bigger market than just creating maximum value of sort of our business that we are sort of having a core competency in. That is the only thing we sort of do and we deliver. He wants to be part of a rainforest where he can contribute with his core competence into several what he calls scenarios that he creates together with others in ecosystem. And today or next weekend, in this award, as I mentioned, the Zero Distance Organization Award that will be handed out by him, he called this new form the new economic engine, because he see that this is such an important part of their growth now, the ecosystem. And to explain that, I have one example here that I don't think you've seen before. This is the example of Three Wing Bird. Three Wing Bird is a company. It was created by one of the entrepreneurs within Hire that had this idea to collect a number of different, if you go here, a number of different core competences, if you see out here, together in the ecosystem. So Three Wing Bird could create the smart home to the users. So they knew that they were specialists and specializing on smart home appliances. They were not doing design. They were not doing furnitures. They were not a decoration firm. They did not do tiles or flooring. They didn't do specific appliances for bathroom and so on. So, and they didn't have lifestyle like, weight training or weight loss or, eating nutrition-rich food or whatever. They didn't do all those things, but they were a great home appliance manufacturing provider. So they created an EMC with those different parties. And then Three Wing Bird created a number of capabilities themselves. One was to create scenario capability. So in order to sell the smart home solution, it could be then different scenarios like the smart kitchen in the home, it could be the smart living room, it could be the smart laundry room. And those they called scenario capabilities. So they had to be good at business developing scenarios, not selling a product anymore, not a washing machine or micro oven, but a scenario. And that was something they were good and had to be good at selling to users that were interested in having one provider of a smart, holistic solution. Then they also had a digital platform capability. So all those could be interoperable on this digital platform to make everything very smooth and, they could sort of get information and and also leave information and get access to different things on the platform. They also had to have store operation capability. They had to have AI, which was a smart home brain. They call it the brain. So that is AI capability. And then the design tool capability. So for those scenarios, they also offer the users to be able to design. Here, the designer provided, solution, but the Three Wing Bird company developed the online software and the tools for the user to be able to quickly see how that smart living room could look like and to sort of, play around with it. What is interesting is that, and it's this one. What is interesting in this business model is that the Three Wing Bird as company is then today earning revenues both from home appliances as well as ecosystem revenues. So ecosystem revenues is a new income, it's a new revenue source, and is increasingly becoming important. And it's scale, right? Because this is part of a sell of all other products that you're not part of, that you now get part of. And this is a process. I'm not going to go into that with the user. So that they have in-store experience. So they show the smart living room. So they believe in offline, online. They believe in an offline world to provide the in-store experience of the living room or the kitchen or whatever. Then they believe in a lot of on-site tools. And then, of course, they need to set it up. So then we're offline again. So it's a mix of offline and online solution, which is extremely interesting. And you can just imagine that they go from hardware to software to services. So their business model overall have changed. So they tailor-made scenarios plans today to homeowners' apartment. And so how many minutes do I have left?
Let's see. You have about 10 minutes.
Okay, good. Fantastic. Okay, so the thing is that we see this already happen. And we have some companies, I mean, the platform business, come on. I mean, Amazon and Google and those are, have done it and, checked it for years and years. Now we see this kind of new model where you have a platform and you work with other players in an extremely smart digital way with AI enabled to take the opportunity to reach a much wider and broader market. And what you win on that is that you win a new kind of revenue stream. And again, you can just imagine the tools that we need. Okay, so we don't have, it's an easy example. We don't have a profit and loss account today that is measuring ecosystem revenues and profit, right? So they had to develop that. They call it the fourth financial statement. So this kind of new business model where you earn on both also demand a lot of new tools that did not have to exist in a normal organization solution. And so that is one problem. The other challenge is that there are no clear blueprints or best practices today on that micro level, how you actually manage that in a very good way. We know that certain companies are doing it and they do it very successfully, but it's not democratically available for everyone. So, for example, we don't really know what is the best case for stakeholder alignment and coordination. I mean, you can just imagine if you don't have stakeholder alignment coordination, it will not work. We need to be able to do ownership and intellectual property rights, manage that. We need to have the decision processes. How will the decision-making authority and leadership look like? How will we do risk and resource sharing? How do we create this trust and collaboration culture that's absolutely necessary for this to work? How do we manage data and knowledge sharing in this kind of and that is also connected with IP? And how do we govern this, right? Which is governance and leadership is also aligned here. So we don't really know. We have single research cases that are very few, and I've been doing some of them, and other research doing some, but it's not a collected knowledge. So that is why, and I think we don't really need to go through all this, but one of the reasons why a guidance standard would be, of value, according to me, and I would like to hear your point of view for the last, I will try to stop soon, is that it's a fragmented practice. So we don't have interoperability today between different stakeholders in an ecosystem. Okay, we don't have clear guidelines for data sharing, collaboration models, IP management. So it's tough. We need to sort of reinvent the wheel every time. And every organization that try to build this up or region or whatever on different levels need to sort of find and how to do it. The other thing is that the ecosystem involves multiple actors with different roles. And we don't have a clarity of governance, how to specify roles and responsibilities and those things. We also don't have this kind of how to build a trust, transparent consistency and enhance trust. We know we do need a culture that is enabling that, but it's also more things than culture that is affecting that culture of trust. The lack of standardization of those innovation ecosystem also means that we cannot scale. We cannot scale innovation ecosystem in a way we could have done if we have more of a guidance, a framework for it. And then ecosystem require the sharing of resources and collective management of risk. And we don't have a framework for that either, the resource allocation, risk sharing, and investment management within the ecosystem. So in conclusion, the standardized framework, or some kind of best practice, at least the guidance for managing innovation ecosystem would reduce this fragmentation, promote efficient collaboration, and enable scalability across industry and regions. So that's my argument. And the key component of this, and then I will stop, would be then in this guidance, the governance and leadership structure, the culture and behavior framework, the collaboration framework, resource and risk management, intellectual property and value distribution. And this is super important. If you don't find a model for how you distribute value, remember the 3 rights. If you don't distribute that value created in a fair way, then the ecosystem will not be able to survive long term. Ecosystem performance metrics, sustainability, scalability. Here we also have how do you build the ecosystem so it's long term, right, and can scale. and then legal and regulatory compliances. And with that, I just want to say one thing more, and that is I need you. I want your comments, but I also I need you, if you're interested, to be part of this. Because as you can see, we need a multidisciplinary approach in the team that would create this international global guidance for innovation ecosystem. So if you believe in that, we need people that understand innovation management, ecosystem orchestration, collaboration, partnership management, culture and behavior, science, technology, digital platforms, legal and IP management. We need people from the business, from the tech side, from behavioral science side, from policy regulatory side. So with that, I want to say that if you are interested, go to your standardization body in your country, and then look up TC279 and register. And this should be the correct link. And you see, it's global today. It's super fun. We work globally together, and we try to take this to a next level where we individual academics or gurus, we don't have the power enough to work on individual level. We need to work together. So with that, I want to stop. So please, any spontaneous comments?
Super interesting, I think. And in particular, thinking, since I'm in big, how should I put it? And it's still in these so-called agile transformation journeys. And I kind of see that even those journeys, you need to bring this, align with this. Because otherwise you will just achieve some kind of a sub-optimization and you will not be able actually to scale. So I think this is super interesting, really.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I got similar comment actually from Vinnova, that more or less said the same as you. I mean, we cannot scale it today because we don't, we try to sort of learn still how to do this. Any other comment?
Yes. One.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, thank you. I was just about to say what came to me was, and I was thinking systemically with this and emergent systems, and innovation is probably nothing if it's not emergent, although I do realize that there's a lot of work put into experimentation and analyzing results, etc. But nevertheless, what came to me was, it seems to me like the sort of past that is no longer fit for purpose is more akin to having a well manicured garden with set departments, set areas for different plants and all the rest of it. And what we're talking about here is a different model where we're talking, how do you manage in this analogy, how do you manage a bed of plants when they're not going to grow how you expect them to, and when some things are going to succeed more and some things are going to take up more space and some things are going to have more value that you never expected because you put that plant there, you never realized it was going to go 3 times the size and look so beautiful in that spot. So for me, I think some of the answers to these problems are already known by nature, and if we use a different model, as in that the model I've described, to understand how these systems would emerge, that might point us to some solutions.
I smile, Ray, because you talk like Chairman Shang Rumen. He talked very much about the rainforest, but he also say that you try not to manage those different plants, right? You try to have them to sort of to live and breathe and foster and sort of find the natural ecosystem, but you also need to now and then go in and take out bad things.
Voila.
Yeah, so exactly what you say. So you got it. Very interesting. And he used that nature analogy over and over again. Yeah.
I just have one comment and question, Annika.
It's regarding who, I mean, if they are on same level, to say, who is there to start the ecosystem, to work together? If they see that there are several organizations that need to work together to find a good solution, but will there be like an interfering thing when who is the organization to start?
Right. So very good question. Thank you. So it's very important, a number of things here. First is I mentioned the networked organization that they started with for hire, for example, they started within. And sort of then use the analogy with external parties later. So there's absolutely no hierarchy. So everyone is on the same level. Everyone is there to have a specific role in that kind of value ecosystem, right? To contribute with their part. And as I said, they could even compete if the customer choose one brand, before the other. They might have 3 of the top brands that compete with each other, and the customer decide. The originator, I would say, in those cases are usually companies that believe in this ecosystem business model way of working. And what they do is that they fund and they set up the platform to make this possible. And then more or less invite other parties to join. And the platform and the cost for the platform is part of the cost of the ecosystem. So everyone is like paying a part of that cost. So it's like they invite you to the market. Hey, do you want to play on market A with me? We're going into Bangladesh. No, I mean, the analogy is that, but it's this platform. We have this platform to contribute and sell and provide those scenarios to the smart home. Do you want to join? Right? So, and then everyone is like sharing, the profit. So the revenue coming in from all the sales, the cost of the platform, cost of the AI, cost of everything, profit left, distributed. And coming back to Ray's comment, if it doesn't really work, you can also be asked to leave. There's very clear contracts. And again, as I said, this new working model in business demands totally new tools. I already mentioned the financial statement, the 4th financial statement. The other one is the EMC contract. So the EMC contract is the contract that is it's digital and it's between every party, where you state this is what this is the goal, this is what you are going to do, this is your responsibility, and if they don't deliver, then they can be thrown out from the ecosystem. You're not there on lifetime. You're not there if you're not good.
Time is running up. I definitely see that could be interesting in looking into this idea of ecosystem when it comes to like school and public transportation and so on, because the society there is like those companies creating the platform. But maybe that could be another session.
Thomas, I think you're right. I think it's so premature still, and it's coming. It's already in the world, but we are so far behind. And I would love to provide this kind of lecture more times. I think it has to grow in, and we can also discuss it from different kind of sectors.
Yeah.
One question about the higher awards. I think I've seen it some previous years. It was a fantastic presentation online. Do you know if it's online this year as well? Can you see it?
It should be online. Let me get that, and so you can send it out.
Yes,
to
please.
everyone that registered.
It was fantastic.
And if anyone, want to still nominate their company, I think it's still maybe time to do it. It's you have to be fast, and it's next on the 20th. It will be the award, and it's going to focus on zero distance organizations. But I will fix a link and then send that to you.
Oh, well, that would be great. I would like to just end this with showing how you can learn more as you know, this is a pre-session for the Leading Complexity program, and this is a program where we try to get people more aware of the need to change management. And we do that by inviting very interesting leaders in thinking and talking about this new management. And this is the third year. And here we can see some of the all the speakers we have this year, a lot of really interesting people. And if you sign up, you can use this code to get 20% discount. You will also get access to the sessions we had before, which one of the sessions is from Annika. Really interesting session. It's very concrete what you need to do and the capabilities you need to build to succeed in a complex, hyper-competitive, and fast-changing world. Also contributing to this is something that Michael and I have started this summer. It's a podcast, a video podcast to be clear, where we are using the interviews that we made with a lot of those fantastic, intelligent, and smart people. And we're also commenting on those. And Annika's, I think your session is number 7, if I'm not totally wrong there. So it's already published, and we will keep adding new episodes every week. So please listen into that and spread it, because I think those ideas are worth spreading. With those words,
will this be a podcast as well? Can you listen to it as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's the idea. So you can listen to it when you're driving or going to work or anything. It's on Spotify. You have it on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube as well. YouTube could be a problem to listen to it at the same time unless you're paying for it. But for Spotify and Apple, that's not a problem.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you, Annika.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Annika. I hope to see everyone again.
Yes, we need to make this happen.
Very interesting. Can I spread the word? Thanks a lot.
Thank you.